And so I think that you can let something bring you down and kind of feel like a victim, or you can choose to be the victor of your life, but you get to decide. And once you realize you have a choice, you take your power back.
So excited to introduce my next guest on the show, and she is really actually a good friend of mine. I met her almost a year ago at an event, and I absolutely love her, and I know you will too. Her name is Amberly Lago. She is a motivational speaker. She's a health and wellness coach. She's also an author. She has a truly inspiring story about resilience and perseverance after surviving a near fatal motorcycle accident that left her with like a 1% chance of ever walking again. She's had 34 surgeries, and she was diagnosed with a terrible chronic pain condition called regional pain syndrome. Right? Is that correct?
Yeah, it's hard to remember. It's a long name. It's complex regional pain syndrome, but I am blown away that you even remembered that.
I remember the word pain syndrome, and it just really stands out. Your journey to recovery and resilience has been a source of inspiration for so many people. So anyway, welcome to the show, Amberly. I'm so happy to have you on.
I am so happy to be here, and thank you so much for that beautiful introduction.
So let's just dive right in. So your story doesn't just start with the motorcycle accident. That was a horrible time in your life, but your story actually starts when you were a child, that you endured challenges and abuse. When you got that news that you would only have like a 1% chance of ever walking again, do you think overcoming some of your childhood trauma helped you position yourself for that news and how you were going to deal with it?
Absolutely. I think that everything that we go through, every challenge is an opportunity to strengthen our resilience and to build grit. And sometimes, though, when we're going through a horrible situation or an authentic catastrophe or something as horrible as like sexual abuse, we don't think that there could ever be anything good that could come out of it. And it's a terrible thing. And I pray that no one ever has to go through that. And especially if you have, that you're not alone and you don't have to carry. I carried shame about that for so long, and that you don't have to carry that shame. You can give yourself grace and walk with dignity. But I think that growing up and kind of having the odds against me in so many ways, I love my older brother now. But when I was a kid, not so much. He used to beat the crap out of me. I was like his punching bag. And it really, as horrible as that was. And you know what's so crazy? I didn't even know that that wasn't normal. I thought that maybe all brothers just did that. And looking back, I'm like, no, it's not normal for your brother, who was always bigger than me, always stronger than me. I was so underdeveloped and so skinny. I mean, I had nicknames, like people at school made fun of me. Like they would call me Annie Anorexic and Bulimic Girl. And so he used to just pick me up and throw me across the room, and I would hit the wall and slide down, and I would get back up and run after him to go hit him. And he would just pick me up, throw me across the room again. But I think that all of that abuse, and there were some serious things like where he punched me in the face when I had braces, which was not a good thing. And then I had the abuse from my stepfather, which started when I was 8 years old. And after that happened, I remember, he told me, don't tell anybody about this or I'm going to kill your mother. And I believed him. But finally at about age 13, I did go and I told my dad, and I said, Dad, promise you won't tell anybody. And he didn't tell anybody. And so in that moment, it was really a cry for help, But in that moment, I was like, wow, I'm not worthy of being protected. I'm not worthy of even being loved. I had all this shame. And I thought, if I'm going to do something about this, it's up to me to do something about it. And so the next time my stepdad came to my room, I fought him and hit him as hard as I could. And that was the last time he ever laid a hand on me. And so I think going through um, the beatings of my brother and the sexual abuse from my stepdad combined with my outlet, which was dancing and track, which made me feel good. It taught me so much resilience. I had great coaches and mentors. And I thought in that moment, I could have, turned to drugs but my outlet was to do something that made me feel good, which happened to be, okay, when I get straight A's in honor classes, I feel good. When I'm at the track meet and I get first place, I feel good. When I'm on stage dancing and I see it's making people happy, I feel good. So I dove into that hard, and I was hardly ever home. And when I say I had great mentors and coaches, I mean, my track coach was tough and she was scary, but there was something about her. I don't know why she believed in me so much, but she did. And even on the bus rides to track meets, she always had me sit beside her in the front seat, and she would talk to me the whole trip there saying, we're depending on you to get us to district. You've got to get first place. And I did. And I worked hard. And that's how I think I developed that grit. But man, there would be times when we'd be conditioning ourselves for track, and I'd be running around the track. And you run so hard in the Texas heat that I would have to throw up. And she would just say, hey, off the track to throw up, and you better keep running. My dance teacher, I would have bloody toes in my point shoes and say, Miss Jackie, but my toes, they're bleeding. And she goes, the show must go on. So I learned a lot about grit and resilience and mindset. And I knew that I wanted to make something of my life. And I think that sometimes your pain will push you until your passion pulls you. And so I knew from a young age, I was going to move to California. I was going to pursue my career as a professional dancer, and the pain and not feeling safe at home really pushed me. And then when I got to LA, oh my goodness, my passion pulled me, and I got to dance all over the world. My first music video was MC Hammer. And so I think that you can let something bring you down and kind of feel like a victim, or you can choose to be the victor of your life, but you get to decide. And once you realize you have a choice, you take your power back.
Yeah, so you learned that at a young age. So what advice would you give to somebody, a young person that maybe doesn't have a mentor like you had, maybe that doesn't have, anybody there, a coach that's going to grab them and say, look, there, you can do more. What kind of advice would you give them?
I think it's so important nowadays for kids to have healthy outlets, like getting off their phone and really getting involved in sports. I think that when you get involved in any kind of sport, movement moves your mood. So first of all, it's going to make you feel good. It's going to release endorphins, but it gives you a purpose, and it gives you a reason to keep going. And it also allows you, most of the time, I mean, my daughter has had great mentors with her horseback riding, trainer. So whether it's a trainer and you know what, if they can't get into sports, or they can't, go horseback riding, or they can't afford dance classes, then they need to reach out to a counselor at school that's free. But you've got to reach out for help, and you have to do everything in your power to strengthen your mind, strengthen your body, and spiritually have a strong connection with your higher power. For me, I grew up in Texas going to church in the Bible Belt, where we went to church every Sunday. What's so wild is I felt the most connected to God when I was on the track. So when I would run, that's when I would talk to God. That's when I would pray. And so I think it's really important to find a mentor, either a counselor. Now, luckily, they have hotlines, but if you can get your kid involved in some kind of a sport, and I think I have to say, have that communication and have an open conversation with your kids to make sure that they're okay. And look, I didn't understand why, when my oldest daughter was 8 years old, I was getting triggered. I was like, what is going on with me? And it was one day we were upstairs and we had music going, and my husband and I were just looking at pictures on the computer, and we had pictures of my daughter and her friend in their bathing suits by the pool, by our pool. No big deal. Something about seeing her in a bathing suit on the computer, and it wasn't like it was online posted, it was just on our computer. I flipped out. I was like, delete that picture now, like delete. And I was like, where is this coming from? And, I went to therapy, and it was like, wow, I am to the age where I'm looking at her, and I felt like I didn't have anybody to protect me. And I wanted her to know that I am here to protect her, And so I think, yes, it's important to protect yourself. I mean, look, the blessing in my brother beating the crap out of me, it inspired me to get into Muay Thai kickboxing. I got into boxing, regular boxing, and I got into Krav Maga, and I have a belt in Krav Maga. And that gave me confidence. And I think that when you have the confidence, when you know that you can, I mean, look, I'll just share with you. I'm in LA last year, my daughter and I were riding our bikes, and the homelessness and crime has gotten pretty bad in LA, and we live in a pretty safe area, but we were riding our bikes, and this homeless person jumps me, and I get up, knocks me off my bike. I get up, and I was like, bring it.
I love it.
I will pull out some Krav Maga moves on, come on. And I think the Texas came out of me, and they looked at me like, oh, Lordy, this girl's crazy. I'm out of here. And they took off running. Mm-hmm. And so it's little things like, I didn't throw a punch. I didn't want to throw a punch, but it was how you carry yourself, right. The energy, your confidence, people can sense that, And so I think it's important to strengthen yourself mentally, physically, spiritually.
Right. Well, that speaks to so many things in your life, right? You just run toward the thing that most people run away from. And you're in what you went throughout your entire life would be something that most people would keep inside and they wouldn't share with the world. And you're an open book. You put it out there because you know that you can help so many people. And we spoke about this at the last event that I saw you at. Right after you spoke, I asked you, do you still get nervous? And you said, oh, yes, I definitely get nervous. And you've been doing this for years now. You run toward the fear instead of away from the fear. And I love that about you.
Yeah, well, thank you. And you know what? I did have a lot of shame, and I didn't tell a lot of people. I didn't even tell my mom about the sexual abuse. I didn't get to tell her, actually. I've never really shared this story publicly, but my ex-husband and I were going through a divorce, and he knew he couldn't do anything else to hurt me except for hurt my mother. And he called my mom, and he told her, he said, do you know what your husband did to my wife? And he told her, and I got on the phone with my mom, and she said, is it true? And I said, yeah, Mom, I'm sorry. It's true. And she went and confronted my stepdad. And all these years, I thought he would deny it. He didn't deny it. And so the next day, she came to California to be with me. And when she got back to Texas, he had packed his stuff. He was gone, and she didn't see him ever again. He just packed up his things and ran and tried to, left her with a handicapped child and my half sister, who was 13 at the time. And it took a lot of therapy and work, self-help books to heal. And I always say, share from a scar and not an open wound. And so it took a lot of time for me to do a lot of healing on the sexual abuse and before I could openly share it. And I'm always surprised that, a couple of months ago, I was kind of triggered and I was like, about the sexual abuse stuff. And I'm like, dang it, man. I thought I had healed that. Like I thought I was done with that. And it just reminded me that, I don't think that our healing journey is ever like, okay, you've arrived at your destination and now you are healed and you're resilient and you're confident and all these things. It's like, no, trauma is trauma and you can be triggered. Things come up. Resilience, you got to work on that before you need it. And confidence, oh my gosh, that has been just knocked right out of me. And we were talking before we started recording, I just got back from this big event that I was a keynote speaker at a conference for all these tech people, which tech intimidates the crap out of me. And this was like a big corporate company. And I speak a lot at like self-development groups, masterminds, women's empowerment groups, but not often. Well, I'm speaking to some lawyers next week, but I'm like, oh yeah, I was nervous. I mean, the butterflies were going. And then I think, you know what, Amberly, if I'm nervous, I'm thinking about myself. I got to think about who I'm here to serve. And then I can turn that into excitement. But if I didn't have those butterflies, if I wasn't a little like worked up, I would be like, what's wrong with me? Well, what is wrong with me? You know what I mean?
It's funny because one of the first conversations we had, maybe first, second time we met, I came to you and I told you that I have a story to tell and I don't want to tell it because I'm so self-conscious. I just don't want to put myself out there. I don't want to put myself on stage, but I know that I can help so many people that went through what I went through. And you told me that's one of the most selfish things that you can do.
I told you that. I'm sorry.
And I don't know.
I'm brutally honest.
I hear your voice every time I'm afraid to post something on social media. I hear your voice every time I don't want to get up on that stage and somebody asks me to talk. I hear your voice because I'm talking to that one person out there that may need to hear this today. So I thank you for that. And it was
that's kind of brutal.
No, it was probably, and you probably said it in the kindest way possible, but that's what I hear. And I thank you so much for that because it's helped me through so many of my insecurities and my challenges because it's not about me anymore and it's about helping other people. And I think that that's probably why you do what you do. You get on those stages when you're afraid or you're not sure how the audience is going to react to you. And you just go out there and you kill it.
Oh, well, thank you. But yeah, I still get afraid. I still get like scared. You should have seen me yesterday trying to figure something out. I have an event and they want me to do it through a Facebook events thing. And I barely know how to work Facebook and just trying to figure it out. I was getting so flustered and fearful and I'm going to make something crash or this guy's going to hack me. I don't know. I get scared about stuff. And then today, I get on stage and first of all, my slides aren't working. So I was just like, oh, well, my slides aren't working. So I'm just going to paint a picture for y'all. Then I got the slides working. Then my headset, the mic is going in and out. So I'm like, well, I'll just talk louder. Then I'm reading. So I am trying to speak and be in the moment and get out of my head and stay in my heart. Mm-hmm. I am looking at the timer to the right. I'm looking at my slide deck to the left of the stage, and I'm looking at a screen where the AV is sending me messages, and they send me a message, say, go to the podium. We're switching out your speaker or you're switching out your mic. So I'm like, okay, guys, they're going to switch out my mic real quick. So I'm going to go over to the podium, and I just go to the podium. I'm like, wow, I feel so official now. Let me tell you, I was laser focused. The last two speaking events I've done, I've been afraid, but I had to remain laser focused. And you know, I had somebody come on stage. They changed my whole setup, sat there, changed everything on me. I didn't even look at them. I don't know who it was, if it was a guy or girl. I just kept giving that dang talk. The last event that I spoke at, I was afraid also. I was like, I hope I remember everything. I hope that God speaks through me. I hope and pray that I say something that somebody needs to hear. In the middle of my talk, we're in this building that the whole front of the building is all glass windows. In the middle of my talk, it's this loud, loud noise. I'm like, what's going on? Okay. I don't know what that noise is, but I'm going to keep on talking. A rainstorm, like torrential rainstorm comes. And I was just like, okay, and really just keep talking. I don't know if this place is going to blow up or what, but I'm just going to keep talking. And afterwards, there was a speaker there that was a new speaker. And she goes, wow, man, I couldn't believe it. I thought, wow, look at this rain and it's so loud. And Amberly isn't even phased. She is just laser focused. And I told her, do you know what was going through my head at that moment? I was freaking out. So I'm glad I looked calm.
I'm so glad that you're sharing this, because so many people just, they think it's them, they think that they're the only ones in the world that are going through this, that
We
so
all go through
confident.
challenges. You know what I mean? We
Mhm.
all go through challenges, and we all have fears, and we all have pain, and we all have, but when we can share, um then we can grow together. And then, I think we all just want to be, seen and heard and understood. And I think something that is one of the most powerful things that has helped me is when I've been able to connect with people and hear them say, me too. Like that's so, I totally understand. Like today after my talk, I had one guy come up to me in tears, because his wife was diagnosed with complex regional pain syndrome. And he's like, will you just hang out here? I'm going to call her and see if she can come over. She's not a part of the event, but would you please talk to her? I had another guy come up to me and he said, hey, I just wanted to thank you so much for sharing about your sobriety. I mean, he was in tears. He was like, I just got sober and it's really brave of you to share. It took me a year before I could talk about getting sober because I had so much shame about that. I was never a partier or anything like that. And I had started drinking to try to cope with the pain again, because I wasn't sharing. My physical pain led to emotional pain, which led to addiction, which left me feeling even more alone. And I think the opposite of addiction is connection, and
So
so
good.
it's so important to have that connection.
I think so many people nowadays struggle with addiction. They struggle with, alcoholism and even social media addiction. I mean,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
right. There's so many things that they're trying to fulfill something in their lives that they're missing. So you did it because you were in so much pain and I don't know, despair. You just, and you
Oh,
had little
yeah.
kids at home and trying to get through that. But how did you get through that? Like, what was that pivotal moment for you where you're like, this is my last drink. I can't do this anymore. And tell me why.
Well, thank you for asking. I tried and tried to quit. I remember taking a drink and thinking to myself, well, this is not the healthiest thing to do. Wine's not healthy. It's full of sugar. I mean, me being in the fitness industry for 26 years, I knew it wasn't healthy. And I also knew that there was a lot of addiction that in my family.
Mhm.
But I never thought, I mean, like I said, I was so career focused and such an athlete. I never thought that addiction would get a grip on me. And boy, was I wrong. And I remember thinking, well, yeah, it's not the healthiest thing to do if this is what I have to do to get through the day of pain, just to kind of numb it out. And it also helped numb out my feelings of unworthiness and, you know, I hated the way I looked. I hated myself. I hated that I couldn't work the way that I used to. I couldn't mother the way that I used to. And so one drink led to another drink, led to a bottle, led to sometimes more than a bottle. And I thought, oh my God, how did a good girl like me end up like this? And I was trying to quit on the outside. I was trying to pretend like, oh, everything's okay. On the inside, I felt like I was dying inside. And I really thought, well, I can pull this off and make everybody think that I'm doing okay. I don't have a problem. I don't have any pain. Don't feel sorry for me. I don't need your help. I don't need anything. And what really changed it, because I couldn't stop on my own. I had gone to my oldest daughter's cello concert, and I had promised myself, well, I can't drink today because I got to show up for her concert. I guess I reeked of alcohol and I looked like crap. I was puffy. I just looked like crap. And my ex sister-in-law, which I don't even like to say ex because she's still my sister, I love her. She was sober. And the next morning, she texted me and said, hey, can we meet for coffee? I need to talk. And I was like, sure. Are you okay? I knew it wasn't about her. I just knew she was. I meet her for coffee and she goes, do you have a drinking problem? And she goes, have you been drinking this morning? And I said, no, it's, 8 o'clock in the morning. She goes, well, you reek. I reeked of alcohol from the day before. And I just burst into tears and I said, I need help. I just need help. And she goes, okay, we'll get you help. I'll go to a meeting with you. And I was like, I can't wait a week to go to a meeting. And so I started Googling like recovery programs, and I had to find a meeting when my husband was at work and my kids were at school. So I went from hiding my drinking from my husband, who's a cop, which took some skill, by the way, to hide
Sure it
that,
did.
to now I'm hiding trying to go get sober. And, I had told my husband, I said, I think I got a problem. He goes, you don't have a problem. Like anybody that had as much pain and dealing with as much as you're dealing with would be drinking too. But I knew, and I think it's really important that if you want any kind of transformation, that you you get really honest, like radical honesty and acceptance for what you're doing, who you are, and where you are on your journey. And I knew I had a problem. And so days went by and I was like, I got to find a meeting. And I Googled a place and I found this meeting. I didn't know, I'd never been to this, recovery meeting. And I would talk about scared. I was more scared to walk into that meeting than I think anything. I just was so filled with shame and I was hopeless. And I remember following some ladies into this little room, and I went into the back corner. I sat in the corner, and no joke, I sat in between a nun, like in a nun costume or outfit. I guess it's not a costume, her nun attire, and a cowgirl. And I'm like, what the hell? Well, I guess if a nun can be an alcoholic, I can too. And I remember sitting on my hands because I had tremors. So I was physically addicted to this to numb my pain. And I had tremors. I remember sitting on my hands. Then people started sharing and I heard hope. They were sharing like my story. I was like, me too. That's how I feel. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And they were laughing. And I heard God speak through them and I saw a light in their eyes and I just kept going back and kept going back. And by the grace of God and a lot of amazing sober women that surrounded me, and I stayed in the middle of the pack and I kept going back to meetings, I was able to get sober. But I got down on my knees and I prayed for God to help me. And I still do. I still pray every day, and I don't think that I could get through this if I didn't, I was going to a meeting the other day. My mom called And it took me a while to even tell my family that I was sober. And I was going to a meeting the other day. My mom called. She goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm going to a meeting." She goes, "A meeting?" I said, "Yeah, it's a recovery meeting." She goes, "You still go to those things?" And I'm like, "Yeah, Mom, it's how I stay sober." Now, my youngest brother is on death row in Texas because of drugs and alcohol. My older brother still struggles in and out of rehabs. So, yeah, I still go to meetings because not many of us get the gift of sobriety. So I'm hanging on to it tight.
Yeah. Have
I
you
don't
had
know.
a
Some people tell you
relapse?
not to do that, but I'm hanging
Yeah.
on.
So have you ever had a relapse, or was that it? That was the last?
Oh, I did. I had
Yeah.
it. That's why meetings are so important. So life got really good
Mhm.
and really full.
Mhm.
And it was in the middle of COVID, or about a year after COVID. I didn't have the in-person meetings. California shut down everything. Everything was shut down. The churches were shut down. So I stopped going to as many meetings. My stress level went through the roof. I stopped doing a lot of the things, letting little things slip that are non-negotiables for me, like working out, my gratitude list, my journaling, my daily readings, and my spiritual books. Started letting little things slip. And I had just gotten back from Texas dealing with a ton of family issues. The lawyer for my brother who's on death row, and I had just hired an assistant who I'd paid a lot of money up front, and she completely ghosted me, like disappeared. I learned a lot from that situation. But I got home and I took a pill, a pain pill that I had from surgery. I'd never done that before. And I knew as soon as I took it for the wrong reason. I didn't take it because I couldn't deal with the CRPS pain. I took it because I wanted to escape my feelings and thoughts. And in that moment, I knew that I had just lost 5.5 years of sobriety.
Wow.
So I'd like to tell you that, oh, it was awesome. I felt so good and it was the solution. I'm actually very grateful that it wasn't,
Mhm.
because that scared the crap out of me, because I have a healthy fear of pain pills and I don't ever want, I mean, I just watched this movie called Painkiller.
I just watched it too.
Did you? Or it's a
The
series.
series, I'm telling everyone they have to watch it.
It's heartbreaking.
It's so sad. Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's
So that's,
disgusting. It's disgusting.
yeah,
Yeah.
that scares me to death,
Yeah.
because you know what? Addiction doesn't discriminate. That could
Mm-mm.
easily be me if I let it. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that scared me so bad. I just took one pill, and the next morning I called my sponsor, devastated, hysterical, crying in tears. And I said, I just did something I just really effed up. She goes, "What happened? What did you do?" And I told her. And so I had to start my time over. And so now, except for that one pill that I took 2 years ago, I now have 2 years of sobriety under my belt. And it was hard and ah, hard to start over, your days when I took my sobriety so seriously, but I knew that if I wasn't honest about that, and I didn't tell anybody because I didn't want anybody else's opinion on,
Right.
oh, it was one pill. What, no big deal. Because after I told my sponsor and after I went back to a meeting and said, I'm a newcomer, I slipped,
Mhm.
I had told some of my other sober sisters what happened, and they're like, well, I wouldn't even count that. I'm like, well, if I don't count that, what else am I not going to count? Like, the only way I get to
Right.
stay sober is if I'm honest, and honesty and integrity is everything to me.
Right. And that's one of the things that makes you so special is you're just, and people see that and they can feel that with you, is that you're just transparent and you're open. And I appreciate you being so raw and honest about these subjects, because I know they're not easy to talk about. But I I feel like so many people are struggling right now, and any words of advice we can give them, or inspiration is going to be helpful. And I appreciate you talking about this.
Oh,
It's such an important subject. And
thank you. I think there is a lot of addiction, even just from that TV series or whatever, Painkiller, that I watched. I'm like, it's probably worse than I could ever even imagine. You know what I mean? You and I could ever imagine. It's probably really, really bad. And it doesn't just destroy the life of the person who's the addict. It destroys the whole family unit.
everybody.
It can.
It can. And it's scary to know that the doctors are prescribing these medications, painkillers,
crazy.
And the reason why they're prescribing it is because they make money. They get all of these perks and parties, and I mean, they have these beautiful women that are their drug dealers, and that's all that they are. Is they're legalized drug dealers, and it's scary. So I suggest everyone should watch this series called Painkiller. It's awesome. And
yeah. And I've had
some, to be aware of it.
I've had some really good doctors. I have a new doctor who I love. And we talk about like thinking, outside the box of different ways to treat CRPS. Cause I've tried everything. I've tried spinal stimulator, spinal radio frequency. I've had ketamine infusions, which is basically a horse tranquilizer. And that's basically where I would go in and they would knock me out all day and infuse me with ketamine. They would put me under anesthesia and try to reboot my nervous system. And none of that was working. And, I just went to my old doctor, who I'm not going back to, but talking about kickbacks and stuff like that. He wouldn't even listen to me. I mean, this is a doctor. So when I moved to Texas, I had to find all new doctors. And this one doctor, I usually see his physician's assistants that I love. They're awesome. Mm-hmm. And they know that like I'm active. And it's sad when I walk in there because it's Texas Pain and Clinic. And I just shouted that out. But the people it's sad. Like it just, there's a lot of people that are really struggling, but I walk in and, I've just come from the gym, or, I want to keep moving forward. And I walk in and this doctor goes, "Oh yeah, your next visit, we're going to do the surgery. We're going to do another spinal stimulator on you." And I said, excuse me, next month we're doing another surgery where you're going to implant nerve leads into my back? I was like, no. I said, I've already had that done and it was a very traumatic experience. I said, I think I still have PTSD from it. And he was so persistent on doing this surgery on me. And then come to find out, it's this whole company that makes these spinal stimulators that called me, and they're like, "Yeah, we're excited that you're going to do the spinal stimulator." And I was like, "Oh, I'm not doing that. I'm not having a surgery. You get a choice in what you're going to do, whether you're going to have surgery or you're not going to have surgery." But I think a lot of times that doctors, and not all doctors, because I've had the most amazing doctors. This is actually the only doctor that's ever treated me like this. But I think they must get something. I don't know, because it sure seemed like it when they called me from the spinal stimulator place, but I don't like that. But back to your question about what would I suggest, because I kind of got on a tangent. Sorry about that. I'm like, sorry about that. All this just happened, and I just like want people to know that
you're passionate about it. I love it.
I just want people to know you have to be your own advocate for your health. You have to stand up for yourself. You have to question your doctors. And if you're struggling with any kind of pain or addiction, if you can take one thing away from our conversation today, if you're struggling, please reach out for help. If you reach out for help, that's what changed my life. Now, and I'll tell you, the first person that I reached out for help for, actually, I called a client and I knew she was sober. And I was like, "Do you think you could help me?" And that took so much courage because I had so much shame. I'm reaching out to a client to tell her I have a problem with alcohol. Well, in all reality, she did too. So what was the big deal? So I'm going to take you to a meeting. I didn't hear back from her. So just because you ask somebody, maybe they don't get back to you right away, or they tell you no, don't let that discourage you. You got to be willing to help yourself, but also willing to ask someone else, but know that you don't have to do it alone.
Mhm. Yeah, it's so important. It's important to surround yourself with people that you know that you can trust and that
Oh
you can
yeah.
go to, even if it's just one other person. Just make a pact with that person that if anything happens, that you could go to each other and you know that you have each other's backs. And just know who those people are that you're surrounding yourself with. You always say proximity is power, and that means so much in so many different arenas. And when you're talking about your health, surround yourself with people that you admire for what they do on a daily basis for their bodies, mentally, physically, everything. Surround yourself with those people. Don't surround yourself with people that, sit around drinking beer for 12 hours after work every single day, eating pizza, if that's not who you want to be. Surround
It's
yourself,
so true.
right?
Yeah,
And
it's so
just a
true.
decision.
Yeah, and it's interesting because the people that I hang out with now, and I was just telling my sponsor this the other day. I was like, you won't believe this. I said, I keep attracting these people in my life and we don't even realize it, but we're both sober. Or I keep attracting these people in my life, we don't even realize it, but we are like, we love Jesus, or it's just you do. And when you hang around those people, but when I was drinking a lot, like I was hanging out with my one girlfriend and our idea was fun was to hang out at the Four Seasons pool and drink all day and get so stinking drunk and then be hung over and just that all changed. That's not even my idea of fun anymore. But I was also going to share when you were saying that there's an app that I have. If you look it up on the App Store, it's called Meeting Guide. This is for anybody who, if maybe you're struggling with addiction and you're like, I don't want anybody to know. First of all, you can always text me. You can text me at 818-214-7378. If I can help you in any way, I will. But there's also this great app, and I didn't even find this until I moved to Texas and I was trying to find new meetings, and it's called Meeting Guide. And it just gives you all the meetings in your area that are around you. And it gives you, I mean, there's so many online or in person. And so I highly suggest that, especially if you're like, I don't want anybody to know. And maybe you're going to go sneak to a meeting like I did. That's a good thing that they have apps like that now. They didn't when I first got sober, or not that I knew of.
It's great to know. I know there's a lot of books out there as well that you could read, and there's a lot of help now. I think there's a collective consciousness now that's kind of changing, and
It is, I feel
right?
like.
I feel like people are searching for a higher self. They're
Yeah.
trying to improve themselves, at least the people that I've been surrounding myself with
And they
lately.
might not even have a problem with drinking. They just they want to be their best self.
Right. So yeah, whether it's alcohol that's toxic that you're putting into your life, or a person that's toxic that's in your life, you got to get rid of all that toxicity somehow. And the best way that I have found is with the support of other people, groups, memberships, coaches, things like that. Anybody that can get you there. It's you got to do it. You just have to get rid of that anything that's toxic in your life. You just
Oh,
be done
yeah.
with it.
Yeah, I always always say, my husband thinks this is so silly, but I always say, get rid of the doggy downers and stick with the puppy uppers.
Absolutely.
Yes. And I love that you shared, it's like I have a coach and I coach people. I have a mentor and I mentor people. I have a sponsor and I sponsor people, and I invest in a mastermind, and then I have my own mastermind. But I don't ever want to do anything alone. It's so much more fun, and you time collapse your goals. And that's with your professional life or your personal life or with your health goals, with everything. If you are in the right community, surrounded by the right people, if you've got the right coach or mentor, if you're in the right mastermind, you're really going to time collapse those goals that you have for yourself.
Yeah, it makes the world of difference. And I mean, I've been coached and been coaching for 20 years, like 25 years, and it's changed my life completely. Both being a coach and getting coached. I love coaching. I love helping people get to that next level. I feel if you give back, then you get so much more in return. So even if it's just mentoring a younger person, whatever it is, if somebody comes to you, they're college, they're just struggling just with life or school, whatever, mentor them, spend an hour with them, because you get back so much more than you're giving.
Oh, it's so fulfilling. And what you just described is something I love to share. Is like, I used to use my strengths to like try to suck it up, and just keep going and hustle and do it all on my own. And instead, I learned the hard way that did not work out for me. That instead of using my strengths to suck it up, I have used my strengths to be of service to others and their success. And that's where fulfillment really is. Being of service is where success really lies, I think.
100%. So I think we had a mutual friend, Ken Jocelyn, say this, that he uses his past pain to help and inspire others through their pain. So I think that if we all take that mantra on, it would be a much better place.
I think so too. I think it would just develop better leaders, stronger family units, stronger friendships, and stronger communities. And I think that, that if we all asked for help and gave help and shared some of our vulnerabilities, that it would be more connected.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate this time. I could sit here and talk to you for hours and hours, so maybe we'll have to do this again. I just want to say thank you so much, like I said, for being so raw and honest and open with me and spending the time to do this show. I truly appreciate you as my mentor, as my coach. You're truly an inspiration to so many people.
Well, thank you so much. And Jill, I'm excited to have you on the stage at the Unstoppable Success Summit. Are you ready to take the stage in
I'm
April?
ready. I'm ready.
April
Bring
20th. We got the date locked in. I've got the hotel. It's Dallas. It's going to be at the Renaissance, April 20th. Come see Jill rock the stage.
Thanks, Amberly.
I love you. I'm so excited for this. I am so excited. Thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, thank you for being a guest.